Okay. Hello, everyone, and you are very welcome. Uh, I'm happy to uh, hosting this session. I will be facilitating this session together with Joss. So I am Gisele, and I'm joining from São Paulo, Brazil, and Joss is joining from Barcelona, I think. And we are very happy in share with you some this partial result of our research of our paper about the state of system thinking and design. So we will be 60 minutes together in an interactive section. This session will be recorded and will be available in our YouTube channel later. So this session's purpose is to present part of our paper on systemic design around the world and create a space to exchange reference, perspectives, and practice shaping the field today. So here you have our paper, State of Systemic Design, the unofficial guide. If you click here on this link, you can access the full version. So feel free to download it. And this paper covers some key dimensions, such as key individuals, organizations, some resources, toolkits, and learning space. So hope you enjoy, hope it be useful for you guys. And let me briefly introduce about our team. So this is a site design hub team, and I am Gisele. I am working as an innovation consultant here in Brazil, and I have been applying system thinking and design thinking approaches in some innovation projects here. And she is Roma. Roma is user research and market research. Roma is also SI, is part of a core team. And Josh is the SI founder, and he works to support people and organizations learn and apply systems innovation. And let's walk through our agenda. So we will start with a short icebreaker, and then Josh will presentation the paper and guide us in the workshop to collect data and open to discuss, followed by a short wrap up at the end. Okay? So guys, if you have any question, feel free to share on our Zoom chat. Okay. And I think you could take it 2 minutes for start our icebreaker. Would you like to know, guys, why are you interested in systemic design? So feel free to share here on the take notes, your thoughts, or also in our Zoom chat. And let's take it 2 minutes for that. Is everyone access the mirror board?
I'm just going to share the link again, Giselle.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Joss.
Maybe we'll stay moving along, should we, Giselle, and we can come back to it.
Okay. Yeah, let's read some one or two post-it. So I'm designer and look at ways to incorporate assign my design and innovation practices. So when you approach to problem solving and become a designer first, and then I learned about sustainable approach. Okay. Thank you guys for your contributions, for sharing. Uh, Now I will pass the word to Josh and over to you, just to guide us in the presentation.
Great. Just going to take a screen here. Good,
Okay.
good to have everyone joining today. And yeah, looking forward to sharing a little bit about the paper myself, Roma, who's here today with us also, and Giselle had been working on for a number of weeks, a number of months, trying to understand better the field of systemic design or systems design. There's maybe different titles for this. It's all about the intersection of systems thinking and design and trying to understand what's going on. So let me just jump into some of the contents of the paper, a little presentation before we have this little bit of a workshop here in the center. As mentioned, the overall paper is here. You're able to find it on our hub space on the SI network and download it there. So here we are. It's the unofficial guide for 2026. And ultimately, our hub is about growing this field of systemic design, and that's why we did this, because we wanted to get that kind of broader view. We wanted to understand where we should be working and what we should be working on in terms of trying to fill in the gaps and explore the opportunities and overcome the barriers and so forth. So that's why we put it together. We also thought it's a really good resource for other people to raise awareness around the field, to give people a kind of a broader view of the whole thing, and also help connect people. We spotlight a lot of interesting organizations and individuals, as you'll see. That creates opportunities to build new connections, for people to find resources that we have, learning materials, so on and so forth. So it's a great kind of resource bank also. And we'll look at that as we go through. Um, so what is systemic design? We don't kind of go into too much depth in terms of defining that. We have other guides on our site that do, and many other people out there who attempt that. We just look at it to be as this kind of intersection of systems thinking and design methods, um, and how systems thinking can help inform and develop and grow our capacity for designing complex systems and working with complex systems through design methodologies. And that's the core of what we're looking at. This has evolved over some time. We, go in more depth into all of this in our narratives guide, but it's part of the evolution of design from industrial to product design to service and human-centered design, design thinking that's kind of dominated as a paradigm for the past number of decades, to what we might call systemic design, thinking more broadly about complex systems and how we intervene, how we design and work with them um, in a more productive way that's not quite as productive in terms of focusing just on the individual, but looking at those products, those services within broader ecosystems, broader complex systems. And that is a little bit about systemic design. The first bit of data, this is Ngram, which is where Google are tracking the frequency of words in digitized books. This is going back to the 1970s, so we see that kind of huge rise, I guess, particularly, since 2010, it seems to be taking off. And the organizations and individuals that we spotlight in the guide are very much, responsible for that growth. But also there's this, big demand side in terms of designers getting more and more interested in systems thinking. And we also look at that, like who's actually interested in this, which profiles and why. So we'll dig into that also. Um, I mean, of course, this looks like a great chart and it's all going upwards. But of course, it's still a relatively small area, right? If we compare it to design thinking or something like this, product design, service design, it's still relatively small. So just to remember that it's an emerging field. Um, and the way we're looking at it is what are the pieces that need to come into focus to really develop and grow an ecosystem, a community for moving this whole practice, the whole theory and practice of systems design forwards. So we look at on the left-hand side here a field of ideas and design language and research and learning and so forth, and on the right a field of practice, and we then kind of break that out into these different dimensions here. And the guide then looks at some of these, not all of these, and focuses in on them. So we start with research. I'll show you a little bit now. Um, and then design languages, like media, we mean awareness around the whole thing. Tools, we're looking at methodologies and yeah, tools for going about this, learning, spaces, courses, and online, offline, different materials to help people learn about this, connecting in the center, which is spaces for people to convene and come together. All of this is outlined in the guide. Abilities is people with the skills for this, organizations that are working in this space. Demand is where's the interest, the demand side from individuals and organizations, projects or initiatives that are going on that are reflective of this. And funding is, as it sounds, funding into the development of this field or these initiatives. So that's the way the whole guide is structured, and then we jump into some of those fields. So yeah, we can see it laid out here, right? And we start here with research. So to get the development of a new area like systemic design, there obviously needs to be people exploring and making sense of what this is about. What does systems thinking look like in the context of design? What can that be as a practice? What should that be? And there's many, questions and challenges and discussions going on there, particularly this kind of contrast or this intersection of design thinking that's been so prominent in our world and um, systemic design. And that continues, that conversation is ongoing. So we brought in some of the books, and well, there are mainly books here that have helped to shape and inform the development of systemic design over the past number of decades. Foundational ones, Donato Meadows' Thinking in Systems, um, which is more kind of the systems thinking. And we have quite a few from Peter Jones here, who's been a key figure. We spotlight him. And more recently, this one, Design Journeys Through Complex Systems. We actually interviewed the authors, who's including Peter Jones, for that one on our Design Hub channel. You'll find that down the YouTube link I shared earlier on if you want to learn more about that book. But these are some of the key resources. You'll find when you go into the PDF, there's a link, so you can just click on them and it'll take you directly to the source of the book. Some more here. Some of these are more recent. Beyond Net Zero from the Design Council in the UK. Innovation Methods is a compilation of core design methods and tools. Really interesting touch points. Service Design Network Touch Points magazine here on service design and systems thinking. Yeah, again, Peter Singer's Fifth Discipline, kind of a classic there. But these are all great books if you want to learn more about this, and they're all books that have contributed to the development of the field over the past decades. So jump into the guide, download it, and you'll be able to click on those and take a look through them. Today's session is about gathering any ideas that you have. This is not a finished guide. This is really the beginning of a conversation, a journey where we want to stay developing this. So if you have any ideas, any resources, any research papers, any publications you think should be here, here is a great space to put it in, just down here. We'd love to hear that all the way through today. We want to hear any feedback you have so that we can develop this. We are going to be doing more interviews with some of the people and stay working on this so that we can really get a great platform for stay working on developing this community around systemic design. So that's the first one there, research. I'm going to jump up now to tools. And there may be a bit of a gap in this area actually. It's part of what we want to hear from you people in a minute about where you see gaps and opportunities and so forth. The tools are the different toolkits or methodologies and specific, canvases and frameworks and templates that people use. We, contrast the traditional design thinking methodology with something that's more reflective of systemic design, including the mapping and systems thinking and co-design and all these things. Um, and highlight three kind of main frameworks here or methods. Symbiosis in Design, SID, is from Accept in the Netherlands. It's more focused on sustainable design. On the right-hand side, we have the systems mapping toolkit, which is kind of very much grounded in the mapping element and a really good template on Miro for helping people, designers, build their own systems maps. So there's a good toolkits. Then in the center is the Systemic Design Toolkit, maybe the most popular here. It's from NAMA and other organizations that developed this. And it's quite a comprehensive set of tools that, again, walks you through different stages for approaching systemic design. So those are three kind of overarching frameworks. You'll see down here we highlighted some, key specific tools, many of them quite common to systems change and so forth. You'll find many of them on the website. Iceberg, Canvas, things like Three Horizons. You may be familiar with these. Two Loops, platform design, co-design methods, actor mapping, giga mapping, so on and so forth. So those, yeah, all in the guide, you'll be able to find links to these also. That's some of the tools and methods. Here is looking at learning spaces, both online and offline. We kind of laid them out geographically. A lot of them in Europe, and we lay those out. Also, School of Architecture is one place. National Institute of Design in India. Some resources from SI, Santa Fe University, or Santa Fe Institute. We've got Master of Advanced Studies at ETH Zurich. It's particularly around systemic design in the context of building regenerative systems. IDEO even have a course on human-centered systems design, systems thinking, and NAMA, I talked about before with the toolkit, they have their own training around that also. And then actually here in Barcelona, there's also a master's in strategic and systemic design also. So there they are. You'll be able to find links to them in the guide. The next section is connecting spaces. I'd say there's a bit of a gap here. So this is really where people come together and ideas can be exchanged. People can form connections for working together, for collaborations and so forth. Yeah, I would say there's a bit of a gap here. I mean, the main event is this from the Systemic Design Association. They have a conference every year, a symposium, the RSD Symposium, Systems Thinking and Design, Relational Systems Thinking and Design, which is a great conference, but it's maybe the only big one kind of in this space that's been running for a number of years now. So it's a great connecting space, but there's kind of a limited dose. We also brought in data here in terms of where are the people. In particular, it's 5,000 followers of our design hub. We analyze that data to see where they are. Interesting kind of results there. A lot in Europe, in London, but also, Bogota and Colombia and Sao Paulo and Toronto, Mexico City, Australia, so on and so forth. Bangalore, Randstad in the Netherlands. So I think this gives some insight into, where the people are, where the interest is globally. So hopefully that's offering you some insights. Good to see you're posting up some ideas already. Also, in learning spaces, in tools, methodologies, in any of those, if you know more about, other conferences or other spaces to connect, please post them in the boxes there as we go along. And actually going to hand it back over to Giselle for a minute now for a little exercise down here.
Yeah, so guys, we'd love to hear from you about this first stage of our research. What is still missing, or what still needs to be developed? So you can share here on this take notes. We got some feedbacks here from our members, and they share some suggestions with us.
So
And
yeah,
maybe you, yeah, maybe you can think about what could make this paper stronger, or what are the new dimensions we could consider here, or what else should we explore more. So I think you take a few minutes to people share here on this, take notes about their doubts. So you have great ideas here. Would you anyone like to share your thoughts, what you wrote?
Yeah, maybe I shall start.
Yeah.
I'm probably too old and 30 years in design, and I understand the system thinking very well, but I have a hard time integrating it into my innovation practices also because there's a lot of overlap with service design, for example. So I think, let's say, case studies, right? Less methodology, maybe some examples, I think will be helpful. And maybe also I added here a matrix. So yeah, just compare the different design methodologies and make clear what what's the difference between them, but also why you should, let's say, apply system design and let's say what more can you expect from it?
Yeah, in the paper we do, there's great points. I like the matrix, and the case study is a great way to approach it. We do have quite a few kind of case studies in the paper,
Mhm.
but your other point is a good one about this kind of the landscape, isn't it? So you can understand where you are better, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, but also how does, let's say, system design relates to other design methodologies, right?
Mm,
And let's say, well, why should we use this approach versus other approaches?
mm.
And of course, we know the answer, but I think it's helpful.
Great. So thank you, Ron. Great contributions. So anyone would like to share?
Maybe Christoph, yeah,
Yeah.
got a few ideas, yeah.
Sorry, I was just eliminating the typos. So I have a psychology and a background, and I work in design. And so maybe I go to the differences too first. Traditionally, design aims to achieve a goal or to meet a requirement, for instance, to eliminate a deficit or something like that. And I was wondering to what extent, so to speak, a goal is actually, I would say, an entity that can be used in systems design like deliberately, other than, so to speak, the dynamics of the system, like entropy and things like that. Just to give you another example, for instance, you had a book from Don Norman, and one of his design principles or goals is to create a unique or simple mental model of a product, for instance. And I wonder how, so to speak, this thinking of design can be applied to systems design.
Great. Is that your first point? Did you have a second one there, or was that both of them?
Yeah, this is kind of more a general point where I said this is where I was coming from, the differences between designing a product like a software or a hardware or a service or a business model, which were kind of the usual categories in comparison to designing a system, but that led, so to speak, to the point that I mentioned first.
And do you think much of that's captured in this kind of discussion around the difference between, design thinking and human-centered design and systemic design, or it's a different dimension? Maybe aim that one at you, Christopher. Do you think those are similar sorts of things or different
Yeah.
conversations?
Gradual approach. So basic knowledge course or foundations of system thinking, and then more advanced level. Diverse cultural and linguistic approach. Let's see here. So Tripia, would you like to share?
Hi.
Sirena. Sorry.
Yes, no worries. Hello. Hi,
Hello.
yes. Thank you so much. Like so far, it's been so interesting what you presented, and I'm a systemic thinking and a systemic designer. I recently graduated at Polytechnic of Turin with this master degree on systemic design, and actually been studying systemic thinking for like 8 years, I think now. I've been kind of moving to the same research field, even if on a personal um, a way, which I'm currently trying to put on another level. And I think what is actually really missing right now, which makes all the research but also all the communications very complex, is the fact that there's the absence of a concrete center point where all the information about system design, system thinking, and um, these new fields are actually kind of defined, and there is a lack of sharing probably between all the universities that are at the moment doing things in the same direction but not probably knowing enough about each other and not really trying to well, it's very hard to actually explore and make sure to have information about all the theories that are being developed right now and all the new tools and different approaches that all researchers and university are adopting. So, in my opinion, yes, it's probably something that is missing in general, and probably that will be interesting also for your paper would be to try and map the complexity and totality of these initiatives.
Yeah. Thank you, Serena.
Excellent. Should we maybe move on?
Yeah.
I think that's great points. Particularly the last one. I think maybe the methodology or the toolkit is so much of what holds design together, isn't it? That having something. Okay, Ron, you're saying, do we need less tools, frames, etc.? Maybe there's too much of this to do, and do we need consolidation? Yeah, that's kind of what I'm saying. Like that, I think that's the natural evolution of a landscape when you go into everybody wants their own toolkits and their own methodology, don't they? But you end up with 100, and then when someone comes to that field, a new person, that they're very lost in terms of okay, there's this and there's that and there's many others. Is a way that this can be brought together, and actually people have a place to go to get this and have a shared toolkit and framework, which can't be too rigid and it can't be owned by one actor. It needs to be kind of an open toolkit, but it has something of a framework that's kind of shared between different actors. I think ultimately that's kind of where you need to get to, and maybe we're not there already.
Yeah,
Uh,
okay.
okay, I'm gonna stay going then.
Um,
So,
let's to move to the next part.
Shall I share a bit more about the field of practice, Giselle? Then we
Yeah,
come back to the next question. Yeah, okay.
yeah,
So next section then is abilities. So actually, this one's looking at individuals who are out there, and how they've contributed, how they look at it. It's definitely an opportunity to connect with and learn about what these people are doing. Again, in the guide, all of these are linked so that you can just click on them. You can see where they are in the world, right? That's the first interesting thing. We see a lot in Europe. Like the Polytechnic in Milan, we just heard from, is one organization we spotlight, but there are others in Norway, in the UK, and Netherlands, and so forth. So it's a lot in North America, Europe, and a bit in Australia. And these are some of the people you may recognize or know some of them already. They've been part of, many of them been part of the Development Systemic Design Association. Peter Jones is pretty formative in that. Crystal Van Eyl was part of the association, but also the systemic design talk we just looked at. And NAMA, which is based in Belgium. Sylvia is part of the Polytechnic in Milan, and Alex is worked on different initiatives. He's based in Canada. We have Tobias, who's a member of the SI network and a friend of mine, and he's doing really interesting work in Switzerland at ETH Zurich. He's a professor there. We actually spotlight his institute in the mountains there in Italy, which is a really fascinating case study. And I'll take a look at that. So there's Kat Drew from the Design Council in the UK. Many others here, you may know of them. And they've all been part of these organizations we're going to look at in a minute, or developing those toolkits. Tom is another member of our community. He's been developing that symbiosis and design toolkit for maybe 10 years now or so, and putting it into practice in many different projects around sustainability and systemic design. Tobin, another member of our community, we just interviewed her a couple of weeks back. It's another case study that is part of the guide, the opioid crisis in the United States, which she worked on. Emma is another member of the SI network. She's based in Australia. She works a lot in co-design. Fabian, another member of the SI network. He's from the Systems Mapping Academy in Berlin. And Terry is part of the founder of the Transition Design Institute. So those are some of the people. It's really an opportunity for you to go into the guide, follow them, and learn about their work. If you have others we should be spotlighting here, feel free to post them up. Obviously, this is certainly not exhaustive. They're just interesting people doing interesting work that's kind of contributed in significant ways. And if you have other ideas, definitely welcome them there. As mentioned, organizations, which many of those people are part of. Here we are again with the map. Excuse me. Couple in New Zealand and Australia. Really interesting co-design lab in New Zealand. Again, these are all linked in the paper, so you'll be able to see them quickly. Maybe Giselle, you could grab some of the comments some of the feedback in the chat and put it on the board if we don't have it there. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, National Institute of Design in India. NAMA, I talked about. Systemic Design Lab, there's a few of those, one at ETH Zurich. There's one then at University of Delft, UT Delft, and there's one also at the Polytechnic in Milan in Italy. And we have Design Council in the UK, Danish Design Centre, Systemic Design Association in Netherlands, in Norway, sorry. Transition Design in Finland. OCAD Toronto, a big center for design in Canada. Transition Design with Terry that I just mentioned. And I'm sure there's many more. Those are some that we spotlight. You'll see them all here. Systems Mapping Academy, I mentioned them with their toolkit, based in Germany. Live Work are an organization that's been pioneering, Turin instead of Milan, excuse me. Yeah. Live Work have been pioneering service design for a number of decades, and also intersect that with systems thinking these days. And yeah, there's a little overview to some of the organizations, and again, links to all of them, so you'll be able to find them. We'll also be posting these on our LinkedIn page as we go through the year, so that we're able to kind of spotlight them and have all the links and so forth. So if you know of any others, feel free to post them in there. I'm sure there are many others. This is definitely not exhaustive. We just wanted to highlight some of them. So the next section is quite interesting. We call this the demand side. We think an important part of a field like this is not just all the research and meeting and conversations and people with the skills. You actually need a demand for it, right? In some sense, it's ultimately a market of the world needs to want systemic design and need it. So who are those people? What are those organizations, sectors, industries, and so forth that want or are interested in systemic design? So this section was created through data from our LinkedIn followers, so 5, 6. Well, this one's actually taking a sample of 1,000 or 1,200 followers of SI Design Hub LinkedIn page, and we analyzed that to find a number of profiles, of prominent reoccurring profiles. It's also kind of coupled with our intuition based upon our conversations and all the events we've hosted and interaction with our members and so forth about who are the people who are really interested and what are the sectors or areas they're working in. So we pull out 5 here. Service designers who are kind of bumping up against complexity. Sustainability and circularity leads. Strategic innovation leaders. Social and health systems catalysts. Scholar, researchers, and educators. So we then kind of highlight each of those. So the service designer, there may be UX, there may be product designers, experience designers, strategy, and so forth. But definitely there's a lot of interest from that group. They seek the next level of design maturity, moving from service design to systemic design, to look more broadly and start to try to work with complexity. Strategic innovation leads, head of innovation, strategy director, strategic designer, business transformation lead. They're looking for systemic design and innovation frameworks that go beyond traditional management to help them manage the complexity of large-scale organization shifts. So a lot of people also working in digital transformation and so forth. But strategic design is a huge and growing field, and that's a very complex area that requires this kind of thinking. Scholars, researchers, educators. So a lot of people in these, we saw there, those universities we saw in Italy, in the Netherlands, in Canada, and so forth. So a lot of people working as PhD researchers, academic lecturers, professors, and so forth. And they value the rigor of systemic design and are likely looking for case studies, new methodologies, and a community practice to connect academic theory with real-world applications. Social and health systems catalysts, policy design, health systems, social innovation, community development directors, and so forth, dealing with high stakes complexity where traditional linear interventions often fail. They use systemic design to understand stakeholders and find leverage points for social change, like the case study we highlight around the opioid crisis in the US. You'll see that in the paper. Sustainability and circularity leads, head of sustainability, ESG, circular economy specialist, eco design, and so forth. Systemic design is the engine of circular economy. They follow to learn how to map complex value chains, design for long-term ecological health rather than just short-term efficiencies. So those are some of the profiles of people we see interacting with this and interested in how to integrate systemic design into their work. And that is a little bit the demand side. Finally, we spotlight interesting initiatives. And there's about 5 or so of these in the guide. So many little case studies, everything from healthcare. Well, academia. We first look at Monviso Institute. I was talking about there from the Systemic Design Lab at ETH Zurich. Really interesting case study up in the Alps in Italy, north of Italy, near Sweden, no, to Switzerland, sorry, where they're essentially using that space as a living lab, right? This village, teeny village, living space way up in the mountains and using it as a space for a living lab for kind of testing out a real world laboratory for systemic design where research, education, and regenerative entrepreneurship converge to rethink how humans inhabit mountain bioregions. So it's about tourism, it's about how these small rural communities can be regenerated and start to live in a much better balance with their ecosystems, and how you can really design those systems to make them work better. And in social sector, in business strategy, sustainability, and yeah, I won't go into these. This is the one I mentioned about the opioid crisis that we deep dived into a few weeks ago with Tobin joining us to really unpack how they approached that challenge. Others in urban development and design, and you'll find all of those in the paper. So I encourage you to jump in there. If you know of others, that we should be spotlighting here, we definitely welcome that. We'll be, as mentioned, compiling more and developing it as we go along. So if you have other ideas there for case studies, please do share them. And I think I might leave it there and hand it back to Giselle. It's just an overview. The paper's 80, 90 slides long. It's not too heavy, it's quite light. It's full of lots of links that will take you to different resources and connect you with different people, and hopefully you find it of value. And as mentioned, it's just a first iteration. We actually want to bring it alive through having conversations with people like you, but also going and interviewing some of these people so that they can share more about how we can develop the community. But actually going to pass back to Giselle for this question here.
Yeah, okay. So guys, now in the last block, it's about the challenge and opportunities for developing the field. So we invite you to share here in this statement with your dogs about what is maybe slowing down the development on the field, or what could make a systemic design more visible, accessible, and applied in practice. And also you can thinking about what opportunities could help the field grow further. So let's take a few minutes for that. Maybe 4 or 5 minutes. Great, guys. Let's check some contributions. So, supporting nonlinear career paths, value diversity, and not only specialization. Great one. Customers look for simplicity, problem answer. I know we deal with complexity, but a simple narrative is needed to start make system design interesting. So there is much overlap with other design fields or builds upon this. Where and with what tools are you adding to this new field? So guys, would anyone like to share on your stick notes?
Yeah, but maybe I'll jump in it, or somebody else was there too. Apologies. I think it's very simple. I think our biggest challenge is that, let's say, the world around is organized and thinking in a very reductionist, systemic mindset, right? Yeah, how do you change that mindset at I think the potential customer side is I think the biggest challenge of this industry.
Thank you, Ron.
So then to try and communicate, I guess, is key to that, isn't it?
Yeah. The reductionist and systemic mindset in 9/9 of the world. Yeah. For connections and intersections with emerging technologies such as AI. Anyone have experience in this field, in this connecting systemic design with emerging technology?
Yeah, me.
How's it going this field for you, Ron?
Ooh, how is this going? I delivered a couple of, let's say, IoT innovations based on system thinking, but more intuitively. I think it is possible, but yeah, it's complex because I think it's a technology by default also is very systemic, right? It tries to force users, I think, in a very systemic a reductionist way of thinking and approaching things. So I think there's still a lot to do there. But then I'm also dabbling a little bit with say user-centered versus co-innovation versus system innovations. There's a lot of overlap there, and
Thanks, Ron. Maybe quickly, Tripedi, would you like to have a clear definition of the professional skills?
Yeah, like I think that at the same time, the profession needs to have a more defined role in industry and institution. And of course, being a new field that is related to a complex um, um, approach to the word and to complexity, it is very difficult to explain the potential of such a figure in many business or institutions, or even like I think about political aspect or territorial aspects. So I think there's also some steps that needs to be done in the education of, let's say, the client about what actually a system designer could bring into the word and for sustainability as well.
Right.
Yes, can I say something here? I'm from Denmark, yes. But I have been teaching at university, even business university, by some kind of UX approach. But the main thing is that the business people don't understand all the technologies. And the technologies are discussed at technical university. And but they don't understand the business side of this. And somehow we need to bring them together. And I don't know, I think it's only service design and the CX and UX discipline that can bring it all together. But I'm missing people actually, because UX people are not business people, and business people are not UX people, and not even UX people or business people understand all the technologies that we can use in a CRM system or a website or app or whatever. And that's what I studied for 15 years now. And I just see everything is designed then. Everything comes down to UX design by customer experience. And somebody needs to help because the universities are not even there.
Ways of bringing those different areas together, not just in UX design, but kind of more broadly.
Yeah, more broadly, and I attended Service Experience Camp in Berlin. That's the only place I have seen a coherent approach to combining methods, tools, and whatever is included in the service design discipline. But even the UX community in Berlin is separate from the service design event I was at. But there was some of the same people though in the two communities. But it's still hard to connect UX even with service design.
Great. Thank you very much for sharing that. These are great contributions. Maybe we're bumping up against time, Giselle. I'll let you draw us to a close.
Yeah, okay. So for our wrap up, I just want to share short information about next event. We will have a case study presentation about how applying systems thinking to navigate the organizational constraints. This presentation will be hosted by Daniel Irala. He is a service designer and research working at Nestle IT Global. So if you click here on this link, you can access full information about the event and confirm your attendance. And also, if you had not joined our hub, here is the link to access. And here you can find our official channels. So LinkedIn page and newsletter March edition and YouTube channel, all events are recorded and available here. And now we'd like to hear a feedback for you guys. So how useful was this workshop for you? You could consider 1 for it was not so helpful for me, and 10 for it was very helpful for me. So just grab the icon and put here in this line. And here in this space, feel free to share about more details on your feedback.